Now we're at part three of the actual idea. So at that point, I had an idea that was like enough in my head, but I had no idea how hard the software would be to build it, and all these kinds of like random thought processes and like feel good feelings. And in my head, I imagined building software to be something completely different than what it was. Naturally, all I knew about like programmers was what I saw on TV, like hackers going and all that like cute stuff. If only that was the case, if only that was the reality of how work is being done. And it's funny because like when I actually started learning programming, I realized that like the majority of the time is spent not really on the actual writing code. Majority of the time is like what exactly are you doing and how the code would make that be done. And then when that is figured out, then the whole coding process is just a testing of what you're getting from the computer and whatever. But anyways, so like at that point, I had like kind of like started my idea started kind of like collateralizing in a very beautiful way. And we started talking to people, and we started trying to like understand how we would want to kind of like build the actual team that would be in charge. And from there, I remember we talked to a few people that had connections with bankers, and I sat with them and tried to like have deeper discussions with them. Most of the time, they would brush me off because like I was very much a noob. So when somebody's looking at you and go like, I had to actually like present my idea for 100 people or more, dude. The first 100 times they fucking presented their idea, they sucked bad. And if anyone has like, yeah, it's like the story about how the guy from Starbucks presented his idea to like 600 and something people. It literally must have sucked for over 600 presentations, man, until finally it became like decent enough for people to want to actually like listen to it. He became good enough at expressing exactly what was on his mind. And again, like the idea starts very generally. You have to dive into a whole lot of details for it to make sense. And even though for you it makes sense, for people that are listening, how the fuck are they going to connect the dots that you basically, whatever your lifespan has been, like step by step, all have connected to it, all have connected you to why you thought that way. How would you send that to people as a message? So at that point, I started looking for programmers. And the smallest thing I was like, okay, so like maybe we could actually start with a website where we can actually we'll build a website and I could start talking to market women and seeing how they could actually come and go and do all kinds of things. And when I started talking to programmers, I started realizing that most programmers are not interested in thinking. All they're interested in doing is programming. All they wanted to do is just build the program. All they wanted to do is just establish how the actual website would look like. They don't care to think. They don't care to like sit with the owner. They want the owner to tell them exactly what they wanted. They would go write the code and voila. They finish their job. They get paid. Fuck this shit. I'm done. And I sat with, I think, I sat with a group of programmers because I wanted to learn programming. But the group over there, like they said, you can only learn programming with them if I was like African, but I wasn't. So that sucked, man, because I would have like definitely registered for a class with them. But that kind of drove me to start reading more about programming in order to understand how they think, or understand at the very least how do I represent. And that's basically what business analysts do. Because I had an idea and I wasn't able to tell the programmers what I wanted, and the programmers didn't like all they know is code over there, and or at the very least the programmers that I met. So slowly, slow and steady, what I started doing was I started like reading more about programming. I started understanding more about programming. I started kind of like concepts, like seeing what concepts work with programming, and like again, like I wish I had guidance early on because it would have been easier. It wouldn't have been like a mistake of that way. And from there, I kept like documenting basically how my idea could actually evolve. Because if I get the market women to be involved, then actually I have a network. And when I have a network, then basically I'm reaching every other person that logistically is working with the woman or the man, like whoever has a shop. But like over there, it's the market women that basically control the economy. Those women are brilliant. They're strong, they're powerful, they're commanding. Like they actually like hold responsibility like no other. Like, I was super proud to like talk to a lot of them, and they sit and they organize themselves, and they see like steps into the future. It was like beautiful working with them. They taught me a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And so and I was thinking then basically if we center around them and we're building a network around them, then everything that's communicating with them is also like kind of connected to the app that we have. And slowly, slowly, the app would kind of expand to what are the things that we could do with it and how we are able to kind of like build new features, different features, and like allow for different kind of settings and setups to be like constructed with it. And at that point, I remember like I had like started hitting a wall with programming and started like being very frustrated about it and started writing more. And I think it was like early 2021, and I was writing more and writing more and writing more, just like diving deeper into like the thought process behind things and where I was coming from and why I wanted to do it. And at that time, I remember that's where like a lot of drama started happening in the country and a lot of issues started kind of like coming up. I think like it's just like the economy became like super bad. Wasn't any funding happening from the outside world, and Corona has taken its toll. So from there, I had to like get out of like the whole bring people in phase and like investment phase, and more like what should I do right now in order for me to kind of like survive. So I decided to like jump the gun and start investing in a different company and just like expand on my restaurant into a coffee shop. And I sat and I wrote the business plan. And I tried my best to kind of like elaborate on the details that I wanted and all the things that I wanted to get out of it. By the time I hit the, by the time I think I hit May, the guy that I was working with, by the time I hit March, the guy that I was like renting from started started revealing how he's going to screw me over. By April, I went back to the restaurant and I actually like went back to. I took my stuff. I closed the new coffee shop that I opened on the main road, and I took it to the restaurant. It was called Vila's Brew. It was a cute concept. What I wanted to do was exactly like I wanted to connect all the people that are trying to build like their own mini brands that were trying to kind of like the herbs, the honey, like everything that is coming locally. I wanted to like make a coffee shop where you can actually go buy everything you want locally. And the idea was to be able to like help them brand and eventually kind of like start with the app. So I instead of going hardcore, getting funding and going into the market directly, I wanted to kind of like learn from the people that are in the market. I wanted to learn from people that are already struggling to kind of like create a network around them. And step by step, I met a lot of people. I met farmers. I met like merchants. I even met like ministers and like people on radios that would come and actually like try to have coffee before they go to work. And I would sit with them, and they would come with different people later on, and they would discuss with me at a point. Uh, I don't know why things went wrong at that point. I have my theories, but it's pointless. But when things went wrong and everything started moving forward, I got to a point where I realized I was like kind of like stuck. So I decided to go to Lebanon and come back home and take like a break and like reconsider things. And I think for 2 months, when I sat with myself, I started writing down for those 2 months. I started writing down like, I'm going to Lebanon and I'm going to meet my family after 2.5 years. And basically, throughout these 2.5 years, what has changed? Because I remember the last time I saw them was when I was before Corona at the wedding, at my cousin's wedding, and those were like intense and decent 2 months. Like there was a whole lot that was happening. And by the time I actually got to Lebanon, the first 2 weeks were amazing. The 2 weeks after that were horrible, 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 horrible. I was not feeling good. I wasn't at all. I did not want to be around my family. I did not like any of them. I didn't like how they were like interacting with everything. I felt like each one of them was just like in their own bubble. Phew, a lot of feelings, man. Maybe we can deconstruct them now, or maybe we can like push them for later. But so I remember when I went back to Liberia, I went back to Liberia with the whole like, what am I gonna do now? And within those 2 months, my dog died. And that basically created that detachment. And it only took me an extra 2 months, I guess. From July, my dog died in July, August, and by September I was back in Lebanon. And I was like, fuck this shit, because I really like what with my dog not being there. There was absolutely no reason for me to stay there. I have friends and family and everything, but like not one thing was actually going correctly. Not one thing was supporting what I wanted to do. Like I had recently just closed the business, and I was stuck in learning new stuff and programming and everything. I literally reached my limit with what I could learn online. I needed to talk to people that know different stuff or like are just like in different fields. And so by September 2021, I was back. I had spent 9 years and basically 10 months in Liberia. And I came back to Lebanon, and that's where the new story, the quest to actually learn programming and to figure out what I wanted to do, and like truly assess what I've been doing uh, as a part of my life and in my life. This kind of making me feel some kind of way right now that I'm talking about it. But like, it was a hard time for me, but it was just like one of the most beautiful times ever. So next video, part 3. Thank you guys for listening.